A beam doesn't fail with a clean crack. It starts with a scratch, like a nail dragged slow across glass. Then the sound deepens. Wood complaining. Stone answering back. Fine grit drifted out of the ceiling seams and dusted my shoulders and the collar of my gray t-shirt. It tasted like limestone and old wine barrels. "Mr. Thorne, if we could speed this up," the assistant said, checking his watch like gravity ran on his calendar. "The board meeting starts in 20 minutes. I didn't look at him. I looked at the hairline fracture running through the arch above the tasting hall, one thin line splitting the plaster like a vein. "Nobody moves," I said. He blinked. "Excuse me." I stepped closer to the archwash and ran my flashlight along the stonework. The beam caught on the fracture and turned it into a bright white thread. "Shear failure at the keystone," I said. "Your live load upstairs is too high. If your catering crew fires up those machines again, this wing comes down." A few board members laughed like it was a joke they'd heard before. The assistant straightened his tie. "We have a production schedule. This is a historic landmark. You're here for an insurance sign-off, kid. Sign the paper." I capped my pen. "I'm not signing anything," I said. "I'm red tagging it. Everyone out, now." The room didn't move until I raised my voice one notch, not louder, sharper. "Out," I repeated. Chairs scraped, heels clicked, someone cursed under their breath. The dust kept falling anyway, calm and steady like it didn't care about anyone's opinions. A woman in a white-fitted top and black skirt stood near the doorway, a leather shoulder bag strap cutting across her collarbone. She wasn't dressed like the rest of them. No suit jacket, no boardroom armor, just clean lines and a face that had learned how to keep everything inside. Her eyes met mine, one steady measuring, and then she turned toward the hallway. "Dad," she called. That name landed heavy. Silas Vance appeared like he owned the air. Silver hair-tailored jacket smile that didn't warm anything. "What's the delay?" he asked. "Your building's failing," I said. Silas's gaze slid over me like I was a smudge on a window. "And you are Elias Thorne. Structural." His mouth twitched. 29, I hear. That's adorable." The woman didn't flinch. She stepped in front of him by half a pace. "This is my vineyard," she said. "And my call." Silas's eyes narrowed. "Clara, don't make this dramatic. We have buyers arriving. We have a merger ready. I won't have some kid." "You ignored maintenance for 20 years, Clara said, her tone controlled sharp as a clean cut. "He's the only one in this room paying attention to physics." The assistant opened his mouth. I didn't let him start. "Evacuate the wing," I said. "I want the live load off this arch in 5 minutes. Then I'm going under the floor to see how bad the voiding is." Silas gave a short laugh. "Void. Nice word. Make sure you don't scare my board with it." He brushed past me on purpose, shoulder to shoulder. I didn't move. When he was gone, Clara exhaled slowly like she'd been holding it in since dawn. "Please," she said to me low. "Just get it done." I was loading my gear into the truck bed when the main house doors swung open again. Clara walked down the front steps into the late morning sun. Her hair was loose today, dark waves catching the light. That shoulder bag stayed on like a habit. She stopped at the edge of the driveway, right where the gravel met the concrete. "Mr. Thorne," she asked. "Elias," I corrected, because formality didn't fix broken structures. She tilted her head. "Elias. My assistant says you just shut down my production line." "I kept your production line from getting buried," I said. "Your cellar wall is soft, your limestone saturated, and there's a void under your north wing." Her jaw tightened, and then she pressed 2 fingers to her temple like she was physically holding herself together. "My father will call me incompetent," she said. "He'll use it to force a sale to Global Bev." "Then let him call," I said. A label doesn't hold up a building. Her eyes flicked to my truck. Can you fix it before the county audit? Depends, I said. On what? On whether you want it actually fixed, I said, or whether you want it to look fixed long enough to pass a meeting. She didn't hesitate. I want it fixed. Good answer. Rare, too. I called 3 firms, she continued. You're the only one who picked up. I'm asking you to stay on site. I'm asking you to take the job. I watched her hands while she spoke. Her fingers were steady. Her knuckles were white around the bag strap. You're asking for a miracle, I said. I'm asking for a man who doesn't panic, she replied. I studied her face for a second longer than necessary. Not because she was pretty, she was, but because she looked like someone who'd learned to stand upright while everything leaned on her. Triple rate, I said. I answer to you, not your board, not your father. She nodded once. Clean. Decisive. Agreed, she said. The guest cottage was small and too quiet. It smelled like lavender and old wood polish. It was also close enough to the main house that I could hear the vineyard workers starting before sunrise. I spent the first night under the north wing headlamp on tape measure in my teeth, mapping stress points and measuring deflection. Before dawn, I rolled a ground-penetrating radar rig across the stone floor. The readings came back ugly. Not catastrophic, yet worse. Slow death. Water eating the soil beneath the foundation, washing away support in one patient inch at a time. At first light, I found Clara in the cellar, staring at the orange hazard lines I'd sprayed onto the wall. It looks like a crime scene, she said. It is, I replied. Only the suspect is gravity. She gave me a dry look. That's comforting. I pointed at the damp pattern bleeding up the limestone. You've got hydrostatic pressure pushing on this wall. If we don't relieve it, the wall will bow. Then it will crack. Then it will fail. Clara watched my finger trace the path of water like she could will it to stop. Can you save it? She asked. I didn't give her a speech. I opened my notebook and flipped it toward her numbers. Loads angles, a simple sketch of a wall turning into rubble. Yes, I said. If you let me do it my way. We were interrupted by heavy footsteps on the stone steps. Silas Vance descended into the cellar like a man inspecting a purchase. So this is where the boy plays hero, he said. Not looking at the wall, not looking at the water, only looking at me. Clara straightened. It was a physical shift. She got taller without changing her height. He's not playing, she said. He's documenting the risks you kept ignoring. Silas waved his hand. Risks, always risks. That's what engineers say when they want more money. I already asked for more money, I said. His eyes snapped to mine. I held them. No smile, no apology. Silas's mouth tightened. The audit is on the 15th, he said to Clara. If this place isn't stamped A grade, I sign the merger. That's not a threat. That's a correction of your poor management. He brushed past me again. Same move, same disrespect. This time I let him pass. Not because I couldn't stop him, because stopping him here would be noise. I didn't need noise. I needed results. When he was gone, Clara's breath came out a fraction shaky. I'm not asking you to fight him, she said. Good, I replied. I'm here to fight the failure points. The first week was brutal. My crew showed up in dusty trucks, steel-toed boots, and bad moods. The vineyard staff watched them like wolves in a chapel. We turned the quiet property into an industrial site. Temporary shoring went in, steel plates, adjustable posts, measuring devices that clicked all night like insects. Clara didn't hide. She walked the site with me, notebook in hand, jaw tight, listening. We drilled relief wells behind the retaining wall to bleed off pressure. We ran drains. We cut a trench line that tied into the pond system. On day 6, the water fought back. A storm rolled in hard and fast, the kind that turns dirt into slurry in minutes. Wind slammed the cypress trees. Sheets of rain hit the limestone like thrown gravel. "Your pond overflows backing up," Marcus shouted over the noise. Marcus was my foreman. Big guy, quiet, reliable. When he yelled, it mattered. I ran to the low point behind the cellar wall and watched brown water climb the trench like it wanted inside. "Sandbags," I snapped. "Now. And kill power to the lower panel." A worker hesitated. "If we kill power the sump, we don't have a sump yet," I cut in. "We have a flood." We stacked bags until our shoulders burned. The water kept pressing. Then a sharp pop sounded near the service shed, electric. I saw Clara in the distance, barefoot on the porch cardigan, clutched around herself. "Go inside," I called. "It's my property," she shot back, but her voice wavered. I crossed the yard fast and stopped one step below the porch so I was close enough she could hear me without me shouting. "You want this fixed?" I asked. "Yes." "Then do what I say," I replied. "If you're out here, you're a distraction I can't afford." Her jaw tightened like she wanted to argue. Instead, she nodded once controlled, deliberate, like she was accepting an order because it made sense. "Tell me what to do," she said. "Flashlight," I said. "Stay under cover. Keep the beam on my hands. If the pressure gauge spikes, you say it." Loud. She moved immediately. No drama, no delay. Under the porch awning, her light tracked my fingers as I adjusted a bypass valve and rerouted flow back into the pond line. Water changed direction like an animal being forced into a cage. 20 minutes later, the level dropped. My crew exhaled. Marcus clapped my shoulder once. Clara handed me a bottle of water. Her fingers didn't shake anymore. "You speak fluent code," she said. "I speak fluent problem," I corrected. Her mouth twitched, almost a smile. 2 hours later, the storm still hammered us, and it was 2 a.m. before we finally stopped moving. We sat on the back steps under the porch light, sharing a cold box of fast food someone had delivered hours too late. Clara peeled a limp fry off the cardboard and stared at it. "I look like I lost a fight with a hedge trimmer," she said, voice flat. I glanced at her hair, loose, damp, a few strands stuck to her cheek, and the smear of dirt on her jaw that she didn't seem to notice. "You look durable," I said. She turned to me, one brow raised. "Durable." "Yeah," I muttered. "Like you don't break when things lean on you." Her laugh was quiet, real. The drills became background noise. The smell of epoxy and wet soil lived in my clothes. Clara started showing up in the work zone without hesitation, hair tied back, sleeves rolled, carrying coffee she didn't drink and notes she did. When I asked for documents, she had them. When I asked for access, she unlocked doors. When her father tried to block deliveries, she rerouted them through the service road with one phone call. It wasn't romance. Not yet. It was competence, recognizing competence. On day 10, we poured the micropile caps and started the injection plan. The resin pumps thumped like a heartbeat. We monitored cure times, temperatures, and pressure. The first time the pressure spiked, Clara called it out exactly the way I'd told her, loud, clear, no panic. I killed flow and adjusted the rate. A blowout didn't happen. "Good catch," I said. She lifted her chin. "I'm teachable." I didn't smile, but something in my chest loosened. That afternoon, Silas brought a board member to the site and staged a small scene right in front of my crew. "This is an eyesore," he said, loud enough for everyone. "We're turning Heritage into a construction zone. Clara, this is why the board doesn't trust you." Clara stood still, shoulders back. She didn't plead. She didn't explain. I stepped forward and held out a soil sample jar, muddy water and silt labeled with depth and location. "See this?" I asked the board member. He frowned. "That's what was holding up your north wing," I said. "A slurry. If you prefer, I can pull my equipment and you can host your gala in a pile of limestone. Silas's smile tightened. Threats now, he said. Options, I replied. Engineers don't do threats. We do outcomes. The board member cleared his throat and looked away. Silas didn't. His eyes stayed on Clara like she belonged to him. That night the power went out on the north wing. Not from the storm, not from a failed breaker. From a clean cut. I found the severed line behind the service shed wire sheared with something sharp. I ran my thumb along it and felt the fresh bite marks of a tool. I didn't say much. I replaced the line, rerouted it through conduit, and installed a lock on the access panel. Clara watched quietly from the doorway. Someone wants this to fail, she said. Yeah, I answered. And they don't like waiting. The fix started holding. Deflection readings improved. Moisture levels stabilized. The wall stopped creeping. For the first time since I arrived, the cellar felt like it belonged under a building again instead of under a problem. Clara came down one evening alone, holding a folder tight to her chest. Global Bev offered early close, she said. They're pressuring the board. Silas's idea, I said. She nodded once. He's telling them I'm emotional, unfit, that I hired you for the wrong reasons. I didn't ask what rumors were circulating. I could guess. People always pick the cheapest story. What do you want? I asked. She looked up at me, eyes steady. I want my vineyard. I want my name. And I want this wall to stand so nobody can call me a liar. I held her gaze. Then we finish, I said. The next morning, a delivery arrived, steel plates we hadn't ordered. Wrong thickness, wrong spec. Someone had swapped the purchase order. Marcus caught it before it went in. That's deliberate, he said. Yeah, I replied. And it means they're nervous. I documented everything. Photos, serial numbers, time-stamped readings, witness marks on critical fasteners with paint that would crack if a wrench touched them. It wasn't paranoia. It was procedure when someone starts playing dirty. On day 17, we did the final load test. I set the jacks. I monitored the gauges. The structure held. Clara stood beside me, hands clasped behind her back, watching the numbers settle into safe range. When it was done, I stepped back and let myself breathe. Clara didn't cheer. She didn't cry. She just turned toward me. Her eyes dropped to my mouth for half a second. Then she looked back up, clear signal, no ambiguity. I closed the distance and kissed her once. Hard, clean, no theatrics. She kissed back without hesitation, fingers catching the front of my shirt and holding me there like she meant it. When we broke apart, she didn't say anything soft. Don't let him take this, she said, voice low. I won't, I replied. The euphoria lasted 12 hours. Silas arrived the next morning with 2 Global Bev executives and an independent insurance consultant. He didn't come to see the wall. He came to see Clara fold. He laid a folder on the tasting room table like a weapon. Mr. Thorne, he said, addressing the buyers. 29. A history of high-risk jobs. The liability is unacceptable. The board won't approve his stamp. The consultant opened the folder and made a show of frowning. Clara's face stayed composed, but I saw the tension in her throat. Silas turned to her. It's over. The retrofit is fine. But it doesn't matter. We sell to Global Bev. They have an insurance umbrella and a real engineering firm. I didn't raise my voice. I set my own binder on the table. Thick, tabbed, clean. Permits, county correspondence, soil reports, cure logs, torque readings, mill certs, third-party peer review letter from a licensed structural engineer I'd brought in for exactly this reason. Silas's eyes flicked to it. A fraction of irritation. The consultant reached for my binder like he didn't want to. Before you read, I said turn to tab F. You'll see the county's conditional approval and my insurance certificate. Then tab H for the peer review. Then tab K for the photographs of every critical connection before and after work. One of the Global Bev executives looked surprised. You anticipated this. I billed for loads, I said, including human ones. Silas scoffed. Cute line. It's not a line, I replied. It's documentation. Clara's hand tightened around the edge of the table. Not fear, anger. Silas leaned in. Even if the wall stands, the optics don't. An older CEO sleeping with a young contractor, that's what people will say. Clara's eyes flashed. Don't. Silas smiled. You can't stop gossip. You can only stop mistakes. I didn't look at Silas. I looked at Clara. If you want me gone, I said evenly, say it. If you're buying time, don't explain. Just give me one clear signal. Clara held my gaze. Then her chin dipped once. Small. Decisive. Message received. I turned back to the table. You want optics, I said. Fine. I'll step off site. The work is complete and meets code. I'll file the final report with the county tonight. My stamp will stand whether I'm here or not. Silas's smile faltered. He'd expected pleading. He'd expected heat. He got procedure. I slid a single-page summary across to the Global Bev Exec Scope Compliance third-party sign-off county contact number. I'll be available by phone, I said. But I'm not going to give anyone a photo they can twist. I stood, packed my truck in 10 minutes. Before I left, I walked the gala hall with Marcus and did one last check of overhead fixtures. I painted witness marks on the chandelier bracket bolts, thin lines that would shift if someone touched them. Then I added a discreet secondary safety cable rated far above the chandelier's weight, anchored to a structural member. If someone tried something, it wouldn't fall. And the marks would tell me exactly where their wrench went. I left without looking back. 2 days later, Centennial Gala night. I was in a San Francisco bar. I didn't like nursing a beer I hadn't touched when the news played on the TV above the counter. Clara stood at a podium in the gala hall, face composed, eyes bright under the lights. Silas stood beside her, like a shadow wearing a suit. I'm pleased to announce Silas said that tonight we begin a new chapter. Vance Vineyards will be joining the Global Bev family. Clara's jaw tightened. Just a small movement. Too small for most people. I knew what it meant. I paid the bartender, left the beer, and drove. The vineyard lights cut through the night as I pulled in. Music thumped from the hall. Valets hustled. Champagne flowed. Security stopped me at the service entrance. Sir, you can't. I held up my county access pass and my stamped permit packet. I'm the engineer on record, I said. Move. He looked at the badge. Then at my face, then at the gala behind him. I waited, silent. He stepped aside. I moved through the back corridor and pushed into the banquet hall. Silas was mid-toast, glass raised. Stop, I said. The room went quiet in a way that made every breath audible. Clara's eyes snapped to me. Surprise first, then something steadier relief she tried to hide. Silas's smile sharpened. Mr. Thorne. Still craving attention, before I could answer, a metal groan sounded above us. Not the building, the fixture. A slow, ugly creak. Then the chandelier shifted just a few inches, enough to make the crystals chatter like teeth. Every head tipped up. I didn't freeze. I looked for my witness marks. They were broken. Everyone back, I said, voice cutting through silk and champagne. Walls. Now. It wasn't a suggestion. People moved. I grabbed a ladder from a startled caterer and set it under the chandelier. Hold the base, I told a waiter. He did. I climbed, fast hands, steady boots, finding each rung without thought. At the bracket, the problem was immediate. Bolt heads scuffed. Fresh wrench marks. The witness lines I'd painted no longer lined up. One bolt turned too easily under my gloved fingers. I backed it out half a turn and saw at the threads. Stripped clean. Metal shavings clinging to the grease like glitter. I looked down at the crowd. This wasn't vibration, I said loud enough for the far wall. I held up the bolt so the front rows could see the torn threads. The threads are stripped clean. Someone did this with a wrench. A ripple went through the room. Murmurs. Phones coming up. Silas's face tightened. You're making a scene. I'm preventing a funeral, I replied. I reset the bracket with a fresh bolt from my kit, torqued it to spec, and clipped the secondary safety cable into place where everyone could see it. This cable is why nobody got hurt, I said, climbing down. I installed it during my last inspection, after I was told to leave. Clara stepped off the stage, eyes fixed on the bolt in my hand. Silas took one step toward her. I moved between them without raising my hands, just setting my body in the space like a barrier. Don't, I said to Silas, quiet. He stopped. Not because he was polite, because the room was watching and security had started moving in his direction. I turned to the head of security and nodded toward the service corridor. Check the rigging access in the maintenance closet, I said. Ask who signed in after my last walkthrough. Pull the camera. Silas scoffed, but his voice lost height. Absurd. One of the Global Bev executives cleared his throat. We will be reviewing that, he said, eyes narrowing at Silas, now not me. Clara took the stripped bolt from my palm and stared at it. Her fingers were steady. She faced the crowd. My father wants to sell you a story, she said, voice carrying. Here's the real one. He tried to make my engineer look incompetent. He tried to endanger my guests to force my hand. Silas's mouth opened. Nothing came out fast enough. Clara lifted her chin. The merger discussion is suspended, effective immediately. Gasps, murmurs, outrage, relief. Silas snapped. You can't, I can, she said. I'm the CEO, and I'm calling an emergency board vote tonight. She turned to me. Not a confession, not a speech. Just a look, clear signal, the same as before. I stepped close. Then stand beside me closer, I said. Her hand slid into mine. Public, unapologetic. She leaned in and kissed me once short, decisive, then faced the room again, like she'd just locked a door. The gala didn't end politely. It ended like a storm, breaking people talking over each other, security moving board members pulled into corners. Silas tried to regroup. He tried to whisper into a buyer's ear. He tried to play father-victim businessman, whatever role worked. Clara didn't give him space. She walked straight to the board table and demanded the security footage and access logs. Her attorney arrived in under 20 minutes, ice-cold briefcase in hand. I didn't hover. I did what I do. I wrote a short incident report. I photographed the stripped bolt beside my earlier time-stamped bracket photos. I handed everything to the county inspector when he arrived because I'd called him on the drive over. The inspector took one look at the evidence and nodded. This is tampering, he said. Yeah, I replied. Silas heard the word and went pale. Clara stood beside me at the edge of the hall, shoulders squared. You planned for this, she said quietly. I planned for someone to try something, I answered. Because you warned me who he is. She swallowed once. Thank you. Silas tried one last move. He stepped toward Clara, voice sharp. You're ruining your own legacy. Clara didn't back up. I didn't raise my voice. I stepped forward by half a pace. Your legacy is on that bolt, I said, and on the footage they're about to pull. Silas's eyes flicked to the security cameras, then to the cluster of guests filming him. He turned and walked out, like a man leaving a room he used to own. Later, when the chaos thinned and the music was dead, Clara found me near the service door where the cool air smelled like wet grass. "You didn't say anything soft," she said. "I didn't need to," I replied. Her lips curved. "Good." She reached up, thumb brushing the dirt mark on my jaw. Not lingering, just real. "Come with me," she said. I followed. 6 weeks later, harvest season rolled in. The cellar was cool, quiet, and solid. No creaks, no new dust. The wall held like it had always belonged there. I was checking final curing logs when I heard Clara's heels on stone. "Mr. Thorne," she called. "I have a complaint from management." I turned. She held 2 glasses of Pinot and a folded sheet of paper like it was official. "Oh," I asked. "The structural engineer left his toothbrush in the CEO's bathroom," she said. "It's disrupting the feng shui." I took the glass from her and didn't smile too much. "I can remove it. File a formal request." "Request denied," she said. "I like it there." We stood under the rebuilt arch, the one Silas had tried to ignore, the one that now carried clean load like it was born for it. "What happened to him?" I asked. "Board vote," she said. "He's out. The county is still investigating the tampering." Global Bev backed off. They don't like deals that come with police reports. "Good," I said. Clara studied me like she was reading a blueprint. "I bought the old equipment warehouse on the West Edge," she said. "The one you kept eyeing." I blinked. "Why? Because you need a shop," she said. "And because I'm tired of borrowing you from other people's emergencies." I stared at her for a second. "That's expensive." She shrugged like money was just another material. "It's an investment in what I asked." She stepped closer and adjusted the collar of my shirt with calm hands. "In a man who fixes what matters," she said, "and stays." Her gaze dropped to my mouth, then back up, clear signal. I kissed her. She kissed back. Simple. Solid. Later that afternoon, she walked me into the tasting room where staff and a few board members waited. "I want to introduce you," she said, voice steady, "as the lead engineer for the expansion wing, and as my partner." One board member blinked. Another smiled like they'd already accepted it. I looked at Clara. "In business?" I asked. She lifted one brow. "In everything." I took her hand, then turned to the room. "Work starts Monday," I said. Clara's fingers tightened, once satisfied. Outside, the vineyard rolled green under the sun, and for once, nothing was moving in the walls but quiet.